And then Rinpoche gives a timeline to someone to finish something. You're lucky if they finish within 1 month of what they promised. You're lucky. Some go on for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, and they have all types of lame, boring, tired, see-through excuses. And you just look at them and you go, oh my God, are you that stupid? Can't you come out with one that's better? And you just look at them, you're amazed. And then they say, please return back to this planet to teach the world. And you just wish you were an alien, you can get off this planet. Go to your own retreat moon. Go to the moon and retreat there. None of the freaks are there waiting for you. Live on oxygen tanks. You know, high lamas can live on air, they say. So take an oxygen tank lah. Succession, yeah, your lamas can come back. What are you doing now to make sure that the organization that the lama and all of you have started is going to survive into the future? That's not up to the lama to plan. That's up to you. Why? The lama is not a citizen of your country. He has no control or any kind of manipulation towards the rules there. In this case, so you have to look into how to ensure the organization foundation continues. You have to make sure that the institution continues. And most important, you have to be an example to train up new people so that they continue in case the lama comes after you're dead. That's called guru devotion. That is called guru devotion. Not be a 6:30 attendant or a liaison or a committee, just 6:30. Not even 6:30, 3:30. And then please come back to save all sentient beings. It's also fake. It's also fake. The lama is surrounded by bumbling, failed butlers and liaisons who take one commitment out of 10, and committee members that show up for meetings once a year, if the lama's lucky. How will you create the causes for the lama to come back? They say, I don't care if he comes back or not. Who cares? Exactly. If that's your attitude, you wouldn't care about him in this life. You wouldn't care about him in his next life, would you? Exactly. So how do you create the causes? Tibetan phenomena, the lamas do come back. I've seen it. I have seen they really come back. I met my lama, and I know it's him. I can't tell it's him now at his age, but I can feel it's him when he was very young because of the things he did. They come back. I saw it with my own eyes. You don't want to believe it, that's your problem. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's ridiculous analogy, ridiculous logic. So you want your lamas to come back? You got to do it right now. You got to make sure the center is firm, that it's running efficiently, that the teachings are carried out, the material is carried out. Whatever position you have, you should carry it out 100% from your heart. 100% from your heart, not half-heartedly. And if any difficulties and problems you have, you should suffer it through for the Dharma. You should. And you should make sure the institution is financially sound, so that in case you're not around and a lama comes back, there will be people to tap into the money to help the lama. All that should be done. All that should be done according to the law here. Pujas for the lama to come back is very simple. The lama could give instruction to 1 or 2 people. The pujas are carried out. That's for his journey back. That has nothing to do with your organizational skills in this organization. The pujas are for him to come back, to make the journey easier. But your responsibility is not to do a few pujas and gone in and sit back there and drink your Milo and watch TV and say, when you get back, let me know. No, you've got to organize. If you're a liaison, if you're a committee, be a real liaison. Do what's difficult for you. Sacrifice what's difficult for you. Push yourself a little further. The purpose is great. Set an example. And then the Lama will be back. If ordinary people can come back, why can't Dharma teachers come back? And there are people not even in Dharma who remember their previous lives. Well accounted for. There are people in European and American countries, South American countries, who remember their previous lives very well, vividly. They can prove it. They can even go back to the place where they were. They even remember their names. But they're not even in Dharma. They know nothing about Dharma and karma, but they know their previous lives. Why is that? I've seen many cases on Discovery Channel. Scientifically proven. A girl in Colombo who remembered that she had died in an accident couple of 100 kilometers away in another village. An Irish lady who remembered herself to be, American lady who remembered herself to be in Ireland, remembered her name, her place, even the children she had. And when she talked about it, when she finally got the money to get to fly there with her family, she recognized everyone. They were shocked. We see these stories all the time. Reincarnation is there. So if they can come back in another human body, certainly we can. It's the conditions we make. It's hard, yet it's not hard. So if you want your lama to come back, if you want a succession to happen, the prayers and pujas are wonderful. But you have to make the institution strong, make it firm, make the rules stick, and you yourself, the people in positions that can do things, set the example, and train up new people so it can continue. And then those people will train up new people, start a system. That's one. Second thing is, of course, when the lama passes away, the pujas need to be done. But while the lama is alive, the real puja is listening to the lama, practicing the Dharma, holding your commitments. That's the real puja. And once the lama passes away, you can have the monks do the other pujas that's necessary to collect merit for the side of the student and for the side of the lama to come back, to remove obstacles for the lama to come back. You wouldn't want the lama to accidentally take a wrong turn, would you? Well, the pujas help that. And once the lama comes back, it's not revenge time. You don't take the little Rinpoche and get revenge. Oh, let's go to the zoo. And he comes back with a black eye. Because you got him back for what he told you in your previous life. In his previous life. It's not revenge time. It's not like payback time, Rinpoche. Why would Rinpoche come back to Dharma Center with 500 students staring at him saying payback time? And the little innocent Rinpoche is like, I can't even remember what I did to you. And then once the Rinpoche comes back, you have to arrange for either you have a place where you can invite a teacher here, an eminent teacher here, to train him up, which he should learn very fast. He should master things very fast because it's just recollecting a memory, recollecting something he has done. You bring someone to train him up, or you put him back in his great monastery. And the responsibility of the center would be to build his house in the monastery, to make sure they find the good attendants to take care of him, and to train him up in various languages that he will need when he grows up in the modern world. That's what some other institutions does for their reincarnations, because we have foreign reincarnations in the monasteries. That's what their centers do. There's one association in America called Kundaling Association who takes care of their Rinpoche, Kundaling Rinpoche. He's in Drepung Monastery. The minute his incarnation was discovered, their association from the United States went there and built up his ladrang, built up his house, found the students, found the people, found the assistants, put everything in, and they invited the Rinpoche back. They did his offering. They did his recognition ceremony. They put him in the house. They left in the monastery, and they monitor him. Every 5-6 months to 1 year, as I heard, they go back there. They check on the Rinpoche, make sure it's all right, and they invite the Rinpoche to America. They make the connection with his old students. They bring him back. They come back. They go back. They come back until he's of a ripened age to teach. Yes. Train him up. And then all the Rinpoche's items and all the Rinpoche's things, all his thrones, you keep it very sacred. You keep it as if he was living there. And you keep it very well, and you show reverence and care. Why? His thrones, his items that are there, is symbolic of him coming back. Is a connection. Example, when His Holiness Khedra she left the center. He left his shoe for us. It's a pair of boots like this that he wore all the time. Zip here and there. It's brown color. And Geshe-la put that on the steps of the throne. I thought it was a shoe, let's put in the back. He said, no, it's a Saramji shoe. I said, some more Saramji left the shoe here. What does it mean? He'll be back. It's a sign he will be back. He's giving us a message. Through his way, he'll be back. So I remember always cleaning the shoe, wiping it, putting it to my head, and putting it back on the throne to wait for Rinpoche to come back. And he came back. He visited the center where he left his shoe. He was recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Grand Protector of Ganden Setra. Both confirmed he is the incarnation separately. So how can two fellas, one is a god, one is a High Lama, have the same divination, same parents, same location, all come out? What do you think? Dalai Lama called up Setrap on telephone? Hello? And this time he got signal on his mobile, dial S-E-T-R-A-P. Hello? Setrap's like, "Argh!" No, they wisdom beings see the same thing. He's recognized by Setrap, and by His Holiness, the current Dalai Lama, the current Songramji. Yes. They didn't take the Dalai Lama's confirmation, went to Setra and say, is that right? They didn't take Setra and go to Dalai Lama and say, is that right? But the Dalai Lama and Setra both came out to be the same person, same family, same location, same place. And even some of Songramji's students, not me, had clear, concise dreams of where he was born, what he looked like. And they wrote to Rinpoche's house in Gandhin. I know that because I was there. Even before the recognition, before Songramji came out, they had clear dreams of a little boy. The parents look like this. The yard looks like that. They have this, everything. I know one student in England who wrote back. Clearly, it's in the book. She had very clear dreams of where her Rinpoche was going to be, because her Rinpoche saw Rinpoche too. I was in the house waiting for him to come back. And before the attendants of Song Rinpoche went to North India to get him, they went in disguise. Song Rinpoche told his parents, it was recorded, he's 3 or 4 years old, they're coming to get me. They're like, who? They're coming to take me down to the monastery. I'm going on a journey. He always gets dressed and ready to go. The parents said, this kid's, what's with this kid? Where's he going? And he couldn't talk well. He would always tell his parents, I'm going. I'm getting ready to go. So when they came, the main attendants acted like the minor servants. The minor servants acted like the main attendants. Upon sight, he called their names and he knew who they were. Upon sight. Even if they're a young child, they're 3, 4 years old, how do you train them to be like that? People they've never seen. Upon sight. And when the search party came to look for Saramji, was going back to Gandhin to confirm their recognition, he held on to them and cried and screamed and said he's going with them. Don't leave him behind. I have to go. I'm going home. The mother said, you are home. No, I'm going home. You are home. I'm not home. I'm going home. And he held on to the main assistant tightly with his little hands and cried and screamed and threw a tantrum. I'm going home. Don't leave me here. So they promised him that they'll be back. Yeah, that's the only way they can release his little hands to stay behind. So they went down to the monastery. They collected with the high lamas. They checked the confirmations. They checked a few candidates. And then with a few candidates, they asked Setra again. Setra confirmed. Then they also offered the candidacy to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And His Dalai Lama, through his divine wisdom eye, confirmed the real incarnation. And Setra himself said, there is the body, speech, mind, wisdom, and activity emanations of the Song Lama. There's not one Songramji, there are a few. But you want the main one. I will help you find that one. The mind emanation. Tuki Yangsi. He said that clearly. So that means there's a few Songramjis running around the world doing Dharma work. But we have the main mind emanation in the monastery. I'm telling you because I was there. And when the little Rinpoche came back, he was 2, 3 years old, I prepared for months for a Manjushri statue for him. The minute he saw me, he screamed my name. He screamed from across the place. He said, hey, Sopa Rinpoche! He didn't even call me in a respectful way. He called me as a teacher with a disciple in a normal way. Because there's a way. De Peda is respectful. If you say to your Lama, De Peda, Ya Peda means please come this way in honorific. Ya Shoda, De Shoda means come here. That's for a junior. He addressed me as a junior, although I'm older than him. And he called, the first time he saw me, he called me across. I was standing by my hut in Saramji's house. He was in the main house. You guys saw, he screamed at it, hey, Sopa Rinpoche, that's what he called me. Deshada, with his little hands, he went like that. I was like, and I walked up to him, and he says, carry me. Oh, God. I was trying not to cry in front of a little kid. It looked stupid. So I held him. Of course, I didn't feel like I was holding the previous Saramji because I hugged the previous Saramji also. But how does this kid know me? Why does he like me? There's a lot of people around. He held me, and then he played with my ears, and he looked at me, and he pulled my nose, and he says, who are you? He looked at me. Not who are you as in like, who are you? Like, who are you? I said, I'm your student. Then he said again, who are you? I said, I'm your student. He says, you're my student? You're my student? He says, aren't you a foreigner? Aren't you a foreigner? I said, no, I'm your student. He says, okay, then take me for a walk. So we circumambulated around his house. I held him. And every day he would come outside. If he see me, he would scream at me, "Hey, Sobaramji, come here and carry me," every day. I don't know why he called me Sobaramji, but he kept saying that. And that's how I met my first Lama. And during the ceremony, I offered him a Manjushri statue to create the causes for him to turn the wheel of Dharma again. And recently, last year, I heard in Ganden Monastery, for the first time in this life, he turned the wheel of Dharma in Ganden Monastery by offering the oral transmission of the Ganden Hachima, the Guru Yoga Lama Tsongkhapa, to the whole Sangha of Ganden. They set up a throne, and the young Soramji sat on and gave the teaching just like his previous life. So his career is starting. I plan on bringing him here in the future, if we're ready. If we're not ready, you got me. All right? If you're not ready, and you're not good enough, and you don't get your act together, you got me. And that's right, you're stuck with me. That's right, you're stuck with me. So if my lamas give initiations, I don't have to give initiations, do I? What's the benefit? If you break your commitments, doesn't affect me, dearie. I know, sneaky, aren't I? Well, why can't I leave that to Saramji? Because he's a Buddha, I'm not. Simple as that. So if we're ready, I invite these great lamas in the future. If we're not, it's just going to be you and me, kiddo. Just you and me. I'll give you an initiation. It's called slap initiation. That's right. I ring the bell. Da, 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 slap. Da, 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 da. Like, oh. But it's an initiation. Then I say, do you want initiation part 2? It's the mantra initiation. Yes, I want the mantra initiation. You're a loser! You don't deserve this! Buck up! Do you want the mind initiation? Yes, I want. Thank you, Rimchi. Mandala Saji. I'll give you the mind initiation. Mwang. Did you receive that? Did you receive the mind initiation? And of course, they're big egocentrics in the audience says, yes, I did. Wang, mwang. I said, I'll do it one more time just in case some of you were not opening your third eye. Mwang. And you're like, you got the mind initiation? We got it. I'm like, okay. Now you go home and meditate. 2,000 lifetimes later, you're still in samsara hanging around with your Rinpoche. You think something's wrong. We better go see Song Rinpoche. Then you say, Rinpoche, excuse me. I have a boo-boo. I need to go to the hospital. Can I? Say, sure you can. You run over there, get initiation of Song, you come back. Da-da-da. And then a couple of lifetimes later, you become enlightened, and I'm still here. I'm saying, wait, what happened? I forgot to tell you before I was enlightened that I went to see Song to get a real initiation, not your Muang initiation. I'm like, oh. Now that I'm a Buddha, I can confess to you, Smuru. Yeah, that's the fact of the matter. You want your Lama to come back? You get organized now. Even if your Lama doesn't come back, you still need to go organize. Because for some reason, the incarnation doesn't come back, and you find out from the High Lamas there's no incarnation for whatever reasons, then you have to be ready for another Lama of the lineage to come and take over. You have to prepare for that. Why? You're not being a traitor. You need to continue the teachings. And your Lama will understand because your Lama is not egocentric, supposedly. Supposedly he won't be in Vajrayogini's heaven looking down and say, those traitors. He might think it, but he won't say it because Vajrayogini will say, shh. Vajrayogini doesn't put up with all kinds of strange antics, and she doesn't breastfeed. You got to take care of yourself. So what happens? What happens? You want a succession? You make it happen. Just like Mariah Carey sings in her song, Make It Happen. You guys should know that song, some of you. Yeah, he knows. JP's always got this innocent, I know what's going on, I don't know what's going on look. Very confusing. He's like, this is JP staying awake during Dharma talk. Very interesting fellow. So you need to organize and make sure the older students Take on real commitment, not 6:30, please. No offense to anyone. Push yourself to do more. Push yourself to do things that you normally cannot do and you're afraid to do. Do it. No bad things can happen. Even if bad things happen, something good will happen from it. Something good. Don't be afraid. Dharma is about doing more. Pushing yourself. And then train up the younger students, train up the new people, so that in case you're not around, they can take over and they can do it. You will definitely be benefited by that. You will definitely be benefited. If you really believe in the Lama's teachings to benefit others. After you die, why can't your foundation continue to benefit people? There are many beautiful philanthropists in the world who give to this and give to that and give to this, and when they die, their hospitals, their museums continue to educate and help people. This is like a philanthropist here. Same thing. And then afterwards, after you establish that, after you establish that, don't you look at ladrang? I love it. I think we should set up a bus station over here too. Put a lift over there. Isn't that great? This is what I mean about we have to organize and get a real ladrang. Rented places are like that. It's not Suresh's fault. It's not our fault. Rented places are like that. We have to put up with the situation. That's why a real ladrang is very, very necessary. Very necessary. And if we want to get power people in and special people in and people who can do things in, they're sitting here, they see this in, out, they say, oh, I'm not going to help this Lama. They can't even get their act together. It looks like a bus station. It's very important to have a ladrang, organized and well. Very, very important. And also, the prayers must be done for the Lamas. And most important is every day your commitments that the Lama has given you, if you do that, because you hold the commitments, it becomes like a hook to hook the Lama back. Yes. Definitely. Any questions? Oh, yes. Yes. No, it's specifically for Paris Rinpoche. Yes, dearie, it's for me. We're talking about Tsem Rinpoche's succession, you pink. These pujas benefit all lamas. But this is my special request. Because Vajrayogini doesn't just help Tsem Rinpoche. Right? That's right. You're welcome. Any more questions? Yes? Any lamrim you like, dearie. Any lamrim you like. Pabonkas, Lama Tsongkapas, Atisha's lamrim. You just pick one, dearie. Whatever one you want to read is exactly the same, but follow it. Any more interesting, intelligent questions, please, besides what we got from Orange and Pinky? Any more questions? VPC's like, but what happens if I'm not the chairman that time? For the stupa, you're the chairman, dearie. You make sure when I'm dead that stupa goes up, because it isn't. I'm going to come haunt you. I'm going to visit you with the other friends. I think with him, I'll take trance in him. I'll enter him and take off all my clothes and say, guess who? And then when he wakes up, he'll be like, oh. Yeah, I think I'll go inside him and take trance of him and play with him, make him do things he ordinarily wouldn't do or ordinarily would do, but in the private. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So you're going to make my stupa? Thank you. That's very nice. Very auspicious. You ain't going to be alone. There going to be a lot of people to help you, but very auspicious. You hear that? Very auspicious. Today we talked about succession. I am not suggesting I have the power to reincarnate. I'm just suggesting some pujas that would help the center, that would help me, that would help all of us, and that would collect merits. More important than worrying about what you want to do when I'm dead, why don't we worry about what we're going to do while I'm alive? And that goes for every lama around the world. Take care of your lamas while they're alive. Listen to your instructions while they're alive. Transform your mind while they are alive. Don't, after they're dead, just sit there and cry and say, I have Guru devotion, but you don't do what they say. Do what they say while they're alive. Practice the Dharma while they're alive. Hold your commitments while they're alive. The best retreat place is near your lama. Milarepa had a student, I think it's Rejungpa. He has a lot of students who went to Milarepa to go for a pilgrimage to India. Because for all Tibetans, pilgrimage is very holy. So Rejungpa went to Lama Milarepa and said, I would like to stop my retreats and some of the things I'm doing here, because I like to go with my friend. He had another friend, a monk friend, to go to India for a pilgrimage. And may I? And Milarepa says, oh, you wish to stop your retreats and your practices, so you go on pilgrimage. Why? To collect merit, to see where our Lord Buddha and founder was. Milarepa says, that's very good, but I can give you something more effective. Wherever your Lama resides, wherever your Lama lives, that is the best and the most holiest pilgrimage. And that is the best place to practice. If you look for any place else, you say from your mouth your Lama is Buddha, but from your actions you contradict. That's what Milarepa told him. When I heard that, my desire to go to holy places went down when I was around my Lamas. I rarely went. That's not to say holy places not there. Holy places and images are there to substitute for the real living Buddha, the one who gives us the Dharma. So those in centers around the world should stay around their Lamas, keep their commitments, do their work, follow their advice, because their advice only benefits. If you do that, never mind about reincarnation and coming back, automatically come back, but it benefits you. If you're benefited and you do the practice, isn't that the ultimate hook that brings the Lamas back? If you do what you have promised, isn't that the real hook? So if you promise the Lama, hey, I'm not going to fight with my wife, hey, I'm going to be very patient with my husband, hey, I'm not going to shout at my lover, I'm not going to scream at my friend, and I'm going to control myself, and I'm not going to lie to my friends. And I promise you that, Lama, if you hold that commitment every day, that is the hook that will bring your Lama back. That is called Samaya. That is what brings your Lama back. What brings your Lama away, whether he wants to go away is not, he wants to go away, what creates the karma for him to stay away or you not to receive Dharma is you always breaking your promises to your Lama. Always breaking promises. You observe people break their promises. They fall asleep during class. They can't come to class. They have obstacles arise, or they even when they're so close to the Lama, they can't stay close. They have to run away. They have to go away because they break their commitments to their Lama all the time. So even when the Lama is compassionately taking care of them and helping them, they still cannot stay nearby. They still have to run away and do something else that brings more harm to them. Why? Broken commitments don't allow them to be around. Broken Samaya. Damsik ba chevere. Broken Samaya. Damsik. So keeping Samaya to our Lama is not just showing respect and giving offerings. It's keeping our promises to him. If you kept our promise not to scream at someone or to lie to someone, and we hold that and we fight that every day, you are changing your whole mind. When you change your mind, that's the whole purpose he taught you. So if you fulfill the purpose he taught you, doesn't that create the merit for him to come back and continue to teach you? Continue. So for any reason your Lama cannot continue to teach you, for any reason, you will meet another Lama of the same practice, the same background, the same teachings that will continue to teach you. You'll create that karma. Definitely. All comes from keeping our commitments. Questions? Good. It's 6:30, it's a little late. So should we start at 8:30 or 8? Up to you. 8 o'clock, raise your hand. 8:30, raise your hand. Daso jine. Jeba Jason Lozan Drabai, Tambi Hibori do Sashi Sho Janju Majin Panda Jigi, Cheba Neba Meba Yang, Goni Gundu Pewa Shotoni Majin Panda Jigi, Cheba Neba Meba Yang, Goni Gundu Pewa Sho Gewan Sange Drugune, Draw Jigan Malu, Dei Sala Go Bara Sho Chuji Jabo. Chewe Zoni Latene, Chewa Losan Drabai, Demba Yurin Ba Joji, Gangri Rebe. Kunjo Sunda Kazuji, Sinjin Tamji Dagi, Janju Nila Gobaragi, Janju Sene Yang Dagi, Kunjo Sunda Kazuji, Sinjin Tamji Dagi,
Chanju Nela Gobargi, Chanju Sene Yang Dagi, Konjo Sonda Kanzuji, Senjin Tamje Dagi Ju. Chanju Nela Gobargi, Chanju Sene Yang Dagi, Tamje Duni Saje Da, Sema La So Me Bada, La Zie Da Nye Bedru Ye, Ran Xin Jiang Bong Ni Gu Chi. Fada Mi Ju Be Ze, Gong Su Shang Da Yi Gi Ju, Kun Zang Jun Zen La Na Me, Nam Kin Kyang Yun Kya Gyur Ji. 恩感等卡吉，基督讲的，那个学生碰见去经济，去经济不共建多上庄，适当些把你的些是说，对经那个时代变成这，接受老马这边是环境，大陆这边送东西走走，咱把这些感觉就走走，西进就是下位路途途，考生那位之前的生活，这边不是下边这边跟等等这边等着拉车车。 以往就有那种没做当几件就不按上去讲说，我想医生最近讲说的送到西周去拿去报备，大概这边对内上把一路高一些地方去地方，结果都把孙权没中小，一年这帮找不送中下，因为对的马的这帮人这些方面当然都有些，我不这些老件是把拉大家上班早把一让我。 就是老忙当把去那个，结果搞了几年的，几张装备对起什么拉，啥去就给家长子说。 大概今年稍微给往的长当州啊，共党干嘛当，结把节省老上抓把一单边一玻璃的啥些说啥些，不仅就是没做抓对拉的人点给忙的，上前去都没在我往一做过当当新郎去吧，说我们一到么古路让他们到那个年了呀咋样没没这位接近前的是对面给没我们讲白样，对我们有种在上位大，赶紧给被最近中华报老上抓被小老送完的。 明明这位接近前的是对面给被我们讲白样，对我们有种在上位大，赶紧给被最近中华报老上抓被小老送完的。明明这位接近前的是对面给被我们讲白样，对我们有种在上位大，赶紧给被最近中华报老上抓被小老送完的。我们阿古鲁白是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁白是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。 我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。 我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。我们阿古鲁别是打了什么鸡？别的木里小是那多少是的红红。当天稍微老毛的木鸡打给你个边边等着了，可能节目过年是在古人都给我就叫的说，边边稍微老毛的木鸡打给你个边边等着了。 可能节目过年就是在出动都我就叫的说，边边稍微老毛的木鸡打给你个边边等着了，可能节目过年就是在。 像去年播报都听报了说。
Okay. We've covered many items already. And basically, for the center part, we've already covered everything. The last thing we talked about this afternoon was succession. And I gave a little more detail on how that happens, and also the pujas to be done, and how that can happen. As a summary of that, whether the lama comes back or the lama is installed back to the same organization is not dependent on the lama. If the lama is going to come back, the lama is going to come back, whether it's to the same organization or anywhere. If the lama has the motivation to benefit, he'll come back to benefit, irregardless of whether the motivation, irregardless of whether the association is ready, is doing its job, is responsible or not. The people who lose out are the people who have a connection to the lama and have to, well, they lose their lama. So people who are ready in the association to have their lama back, the lama can be installed back into their association. If they're not ready and they don't do their responsibilities, then they lose their lama. But the lama himself doesn't get lost. The lama himself will find his way and do the Dharma again and benefit others again. That will come again and again, because the lama's motivation to benefit others does not depend on the student. The student meeting the lama and continuing the relationship is dependent on the student. So that's very, very important. And the pujas to be done by the students is basically to clear the way for the lama to come back, to clear the way. So, example, when His Holiness Khadjit Saramji, just before he passed away, he went into he passed away at 80, and he entered into clear light for 3 days, which means not moving of the body at all. It's hot South India. And he circled 3 dates on his calendar, which they found after his death. The date of his death, the date in which he would arise from clear light, and the date on which they would open his funeral pyre. Those were clearly circled out on his own calendar, which made it very easy for the students to act. So Rinpoche himself gave clear indications of when he's going to die, an exact date. And arising from clear light means when Rinpoche dies, his subtle mind is still in the body. So the body has the appearance of sleeping. It does not decompose. It does not smell. It doesn't turn rigor mortis. It stays in a very subtle light within the body. Therefore, it's there, but he is dead. He will not wake up again, but it also does not rot. It doesn't decompose at all. So therefore, the day he arises from clear light is a day where he actually ejects his consciousness from his body directly. So once the consciousness is ejected, there are going to be a few signs in the body. The body will start getting cold. There will be some blood coming out from the nose, just a little bit. And if he's sitting upright, the head will fall. If he's laying down, the head will turn to the side. Otherwise, it will be erect for how many ever days he is in clear light stage. And that is very common. Trijang Rinpoche stayed in clear light for 12 days. Ling Rinpoche stayed in clear light for 13 days, which means that when they died, they stayed erect in meditation, not moving, no movement whatsoever. The appearance is that of someone sleeping, 12 days and 13 days respectively. How many days they stay in there doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with their attainments. They have their specific purposes to be in that clear light state. That clear light state is experienced by all people who die, whatever background you're from. When you die and all your consciousness dissolve, you will see a bright white light. And it's very warming, it's very comfortable, it's very reassuring. It feels like you're going back into the womb. And people think that that bright light is an outer deity or some outer phenomenon. It's not. It is you perceiving your clear light mind at that time. And those who are practicing Tantra will be able to hold that clear light and reside in that clear light and stay alert and stay focused. They will not lose that chance. Those who do not, sometimes they like the clear light, they run here, they run there, they feel comfortable, they feel attached, they feel lost, they feel scared, they don't know what it is, they go away from it, they go from it, they go to it, they do all types of things. But that clear light is a clear light of one's own mind. And when one practices Tantra, it is in that clear light one can see one's own mind clearly, and one does the necessary practices, which one did when one is alive. Example, it can be Yamataka or Kalachaka or whatever, in order to transform that light and know that it's your mind, and also reside in the clear light. Very, very nice. It's not a light from the outside. It is your own clear mind. So you will stay in that meditation for whatever days you like. Leaving the clear light body is actually leaving your body. And that is a time where the highly realized beings take on their next rebirth, or they journey on to one of the pure lands, pure fields. And Khedje Saramji circled the date of which he would leave his clear light, which means the exact date, which his head tilted forward. And the blood came streaming down a little bit to say that you can touch his body. Then his disciple, Khedje Zime Rinpoche, went with many high incarnate lamas to wash Rinpoche's body, to dress it in ceremonial robes, and to put on the crowns of a bodhisattva, to prepare it, and to hold the Vajra belt, to prepare it for cremation. So when they create the cremation pier, Rinpoche is put in there. And how long it took to burn and the exact date in which they opened the cremation pier also was noted down on Rinpoche's calendar before he passed away. So since we're talking about something to do with the Lama, I thought it would be very auspicious to talk about this because this book arrived today, as I mentioned earlier. This is just part of it. Normally, Rinpoche awoke at 3 o'clock in the morning and finished his daily meditations before dawn. In the early morning hours of November 15th, exactly 2 weeks after his recovery, Khedje Saramji repeatedly asked his young resident, "Did the dawn break? Did the dawn break?" When the answer was negative, Rinpoche remarked, "It seems to be taking a long time for the dawn to arrive today." Rinpoche touched the right side of his chest and complained of minor pain. But his discomfort seems to subside as the new day dawned beneath a clear sky. The day marked Buddha's descent into this world after returning from celestial realm of Indra would come to strike everyone with immense sadness and grief. Hlabap Duchen was the day when Buddha descended down from Tushita heaven after teaching his mother, the Dharma. But now, in the tranquil morning air, the newly risen sun bathed Rinpoche's eastern-facing residence in glory, and shafts of early morning light flooded his reception room. He ate a hearty breakfast, which made everyone very happy. As his attendant removed the tray, he softly remarked, "This was very appetizing, completely satisfying and excellent. You have been extremely kind." At that time, someone delivered a large color photograph of Khedje Trijang Rinpoche's stupa sent by one of Rinpoche's Italian students. Taking the picture into his own hands, Rinpoche asked his attendant if he understood the significance of the gift. "If you don't," he explained, "it implies that you should build such a great stupa. Can you construct something like this? Even if you cannot build a traditional one, my students will build a stupa in the future with their wisdom and practice." Rinpoche's attendant told Rinpoche that he had called a medical doctor from the Dögeling Tibetan Resettlement Hospital half a mile away to give Rinpoche a checkup. It was shortly after 9 o'clock in the morning when the doctor arrived. Rinpoche stood up and walked from his bedroom into his sitting room, saying that he would like to sit in an upright posture. The sitting room was Rinpoche's favorite room. The door led to his garden, and he liked to watch the sun rise from its eastern window. During his illness, Rinpoche had generally relied on someone to support him while he walked, but today he told his students emphatically, "Nobody needs to hold me. I can go on my own today." He once again declared to those around him that he was no longer ill, and he left the bedroom in his usual brisk manner. In the sitting room, Rinpoche stretched out his legs and let the doctor examine him. After the examination, the doctor told the students that he could detect no serious illness, only that Rinpoche was rather weak and could use some glucose. However, as the doctor didn't have any glucose with him, he sent his assistant back to his clinic to fetch some half a mile away. When the students entered a room a few minutes later, their beloved teacher had left for another realm. As he had prophesied, Rinpoche did not die in a hospital, he did not die in pain or from any serious illness. Those around him were amazed at how Rinpoche's body remained as if it's in a deep sleep without losing luster or color. It was clear that their teacher was in the most subtle state of the mind, embracing the meditation of clear light. He was 80 years old. As news of Khedje Saramji's passing spread throughout the monastery, the first reaction was one of shock and disbelief. Although his supreme spiritual accomplishments meant that he was not subject to death in the usual sense, Rinpoche's passing was completely unexpected and rendered all the more devastating by its suddenness. The monastic community was plunged into anguish and despair. Amidst a sea of eyes glistening with tears, the news was officially declared in the main prayer halls, where the entire community of Ganden Shartse and Jangse colleges had congregated to offer a Tok ritual in Rinpoche's memory, Tok or Gana Chakra. The representatives of His Holiness the Dalai Lama came to offer his condolences and was soon followed by delegates from Drepung Monastery and others who streamed into Rinpoche's residence compound. Last rites began the same day. Last rites began the very same day with Vajrayogini self-initiation presided by Venerable Kebje Zeme Rinpoche, foremost among Song Rinpoche's innumerable disciples. Ken Rinpoche, Jampa Yeshi, the abbot of Shatse, Kensur Losan Temba, the former abbot of Gyudu Tantric College, along with other highly realized disciples, all engaged in Vajrayogini's self-initiation for Rinpoche. As dusk fell, the whole area of Ganden Monastery was illuminated with butter lamps. For 6 hours, the night resounded with thousands of monks reciting the Essence of Eloquence by Lama Tsongkhapa, a masterpiece on Sutrayana. To complete the cremation rites on the basis of the Vajrasattva Tantra, these recitations were followed the next day with senior tulkus performing the complete self-empowerment of Hiruka Chakra Sambhada's body mandala. In the evening, all the monks of Ganden Shartse recited the root text of Maitreya's Ornament of Clear Realization, or Ngoldo Gen, Chandakirti's Guide to the Middle Way. Meanwhile, the monks of Ganden Jangse also gathered at Song Ladrang to recite Guya Samaja's sadhanas. On Saturday, the third day after Rinpoche's passing, Kebje Zeme Rinpoche and other high lamas gathered to conduct the self-initiation of Chitta Mani Tara. And the monks of Ganden Shatse who had completed a Yamantaka retreat, and the monks of conducted a self-initiation of Yamantaka. From the day Rinpoche had passed away, the air had remained so still that barely a single leaf had rustled in the garden. But around 3 o'clock, the weather suddenly changed, and a strong wind came up, violently blowing the dust from the ground into the sky. When the wind subsided, word spread that Song Rinpoche had arisen from clear light state and had ascended into the enlightened realm. Residents of Mungot also reported feeling land tremors before and after Rinpoche's passing. Countless number of people, including abbots, high-ranking lamas, and geshes from all three monastic universities of Drepung, Sera, and Ganden, came to pay their respects and take an active part in the rituals. Everyone recited the prayer for swift arrival of Kebje Rinpoche's reincarnation that Zeme Rinpoche had composed 2 days after his passing. That evening, Kebje Zeme Rinpoche led Rinpoche's closest disciples in bathing and dressing Rinpoche's body in full initiation costume. Bell and vajra were placed in his hands, and his body was laid in a rich arrayed wooden casket which had been made into a palanquin. One by one, the monks from the great monasteries filed in to pay their respects. By this time, the eastern sitting room was open to the public so people could receive the final blessing from Rinpoche's sacred corporeal form. Surrounding the eastern room of the ladrang, the monks in Ganden Shatse formed 3 groups. The first group began to recite the root text of Acharya Dhammakirti's Logic in the 4 volumes. The second group recited the Abhidhamma text composed by Acharya Vasabandhu. And the third group recited Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Acharya Shantideva. At the same time, the monks of Ganden Jangse gathered to recite Maitreya's Ornament of Realization and Chandakirti's Guide to the Middle Way. As the Ganden Shatse monks had done the evening before, as the junior and senior monks surrounding Rinpoche's residence chanted these texts, the high lamas gathered inside to perform the tantric rituals. At 8 o'clock, on the morning of the 4th day, Sunday, the 18th of November, the palanquin was slowly emerged from Rinpoche's residence, held aloft by his closest students under a revolving parasol. It wound its way ceremoniously towards the cremation hearth that had been especially prepared within the compound. Throngs of monks, nuns, and lay people, including many school children, bearing flowers, lined the path amidst flying banners and the sounds of cymbals and conch shells. Amongst the mourners were some of Rinpoche's closest disciples who had traveled from Europe and North America as soon as they had heard of his passing. Those who were present during these days witnessed many, many unusual signs. On the 3rd day, just before the cremation hearth was lit, 7 Indian ascetics, clad in new saffron robes and leading a loaded elephant, walked into the compound. When asked what they were doing there, they replied that this day marked a very special occasion and asked for offering. Tenzin Wangchuk offered them bananas and money, and they were left satisfied. It was an unprecedented event, and everyone remarked that it was a very auspicious sign. Later, when the monks asked the local villagers about the elephant, they couldn't find anyone who had seen it. During the cremation, the community recited a multitude of prayers and texts, made tok offerings, and offered rituals. Students of the monastery voluntarily spent the whole night before the cremation hearth reciting key sutras and tantras. In the Tibetan tradition, the elephant is compared to a bull. When the reincarnation of Kyabje Rinpoche was born, May 27, 1985, in the year of the bull or the ox, and the reincarnation of Kyabje Rinpoche was confirmed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama that same year, it became clear that the appearance of the elephant and the ascetics had had a definite significance. It signified the year of which Rinpoche would take rebirth. The 24th of November was the night of the full moon. It was one of the days that Rinpoche had circled in his... On the 24th of November was the night of the full moon. It was one of the days that Rinpoche had circled in his diary before his death. So it was on this morning that the members of Song Ladrang opened the cremation heart. Lying among Rinpoche's ashes, they had found his skull unburned and completely intact. Song Rinpoche's previous incarnation, Songju Tenpa Chunbe, who had died in 1899, also had his skull completely intact when cremated. The relics which bear the Tibetan syllable La, to this day is kept at Song Rinpoche's residence as a treasure of faith and honor. So Rinpoche's whole body was completely burned, except the skull remained completely intact, and on the skull, the syllable letter A spontaneously appeared. That's kept in Rinpoche's residence. Same as his previous life. 2 hollow pans had been placed one on top of the other in the lower part of the hearth. The rim of the upper pan was cremated to the inner walls of the hearth, while the lower pan was turned as a lid over the sand mandala beneath. Because they have a sand mandala beneath, on top of that they put Rinpoche's body, but between that they have a pan. When the cremation hearth was opened, a large quantity of relic pills was found between the 2 pans. So between the 2 pans below Rinpoche, many, thousands and thousands of relic pills, small relic pills appeared spontaneously from Rinpoche's body. And those are the pills we use to put in stupas or statues or to eat or to put into holy images. Those are relic pills that come from a lama. Some lamas, when you cremate them, the relic pills come out. In Jiangxi, there was one old lama who died last year. Before they cremated him in his room, from his stomach area, thousands of relic pills came out. And then they cremated him. Thousands. That was last year. Geshe Punzok told me. Finally, when the lower pan was removed, everyone present, including some of Song Rinpoche's Western disciples, saw in the San Mandala 2 unmistakable footprints of an infant, complete with heels and toes. The discovery of these extraordinary signs made everyone feel great peace, reaffirming their faith in their teacher and assuring them that his return would be swift and quick. A week before Rinpoche passed away, he had a survey conducted around the compound of Song Ladrang, and he had asked his attendant to remove a pile of dirt and concrete from a specific area of the yard. The supposed reason was that this area was to be used as a place for monks to do physical exercise. That's what he said. However, in reality, Rinpoche meant for this place to become the site of the stupa-like hearth in which his body would be cremated, and this spot would remain as a cremation site thereafter. So Rinpoche, 1 week before he passed away, even prepared the place where he's going to be cremated, and indirectly gave directions and marked the dates. He prepared everything before he passed away. Also, sometime before his passing, Kyabje Rinpoche had circled 3 dates in his diary. The first was the date that he rose from clear light state. The second was the day of his cremation. The third was the day the cremation heart was opened. Oh, I made a mistake on that. The third was the cremation heart was opened. This made it very convenient for the disciples to plan and conduct the traditional arrangements, but the real message is, of course, that Rinpoche had gone beyond ordinary death and rebirth. His last extraordinary deed demonstrated a fully controlled, fearless death. They teach us that one day everything must come to an end. Those present were indelibly impressed with the knowledge that practice and effort can enable one to completely transcend death. Thus, the life of Kyabje Rinpoche became a teaching on how to live meaningfully and die well. Song Rinpoche's reincarnation was born in India, in Kulu Valley, revered by Hindus as a sacred site of Lord Shiva and his consort Parvati. The Kulu Valley is also revered by Tibetan lamas as one of the 24 sacred sites of Hiruka Chakra Sambhara. Song Rinpoche's precious tomb stupa, or Dungten, was completed in 1986 by members of Song Ladrang. With contributions from a number of Rinpoche's disciples, it stands 5 feet high, is covered with precious stones and metals, and is filled with relics and holy objects. Today, it stands in a place of honor in the center of Song Ladrang's prayer room, which we saw. This is just give you a little account. Very, very nice. Very, very nice reading. And it tells you how when he's alive, his previous incarnation, how it passed away, how it predicted where it's going to come, and the trees that grow in his area when his incarnation's alive, very clearly. And then the people he's going to take in his previous incarnation, he even let the people know before he died who's the mother and father, and gave fruits to those people to let them know, I'm going to take rebirth in you, very clearly. We can control our death. We can control where we're going to go. Death doesn't have to be scary and meaningless and frightful. A beautiful death doesn't just mean that you're surrounded by your family and friends and you go quietly without any disturbance. That's not a beautiful death. A beautiful death is when you know where you're going and you know where you're going to go afterwards. Just having your friends and family surround you and you call that a beautiful death, that's all this world can say is a beautiful death, because they don't know anymore, they can't offer anymore. But a real beautiful death is one that has no fear, controlled, and you go and you continue your work. It's a real beautiful death. So many Tibetan lamas exhibit this incredible ability. It cannot be a fantasy. So many Westerners now have seen it. Why? Because these great lamas have Westerner or foreign friends, and they have witnessed it. I've heard this account from Westerners when I was in America, not from a book. Of them seeing footprints, of them having dreams of Rinpoche's coming back. Many, many clear signs. Many, many clear signs. So this sort of power is not exclusive for Tibetan lamas. It is for all sentient beings who wish to practice and have control of their destiny. And that's what I'm trying to say. We're amazed because they say, wow, these Tibetan lamas can do like that, like that, like that. Yes, but it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive. So that's the point that we need to understand, is that these abilities come from practice. They start with commitment. They start with refuge. They start with commitment, refuge, commitment. They start with doing our practice. They start with purifying negative karma. They start with 4 preliminaries, and then we receive a sadhana from our lama. A real sadhana. We receive an excellent sadhana from our lama. And we practice that sadhana well, because in every tantric sadhana, higher yoga tantric sadhana. See, the Nyingmas have 6 classes of tantra. Gilu, Kaju, and Sakya has 4. So for argument's sake, let's just stick to 4. In the highest classes of tantra, in every single tantra, they teach you clearly how to die. Not to die, how to die. They teach you how to stay in death. They teach you how to arise from death. And they teach you that once you've left your body, what to look for, what to do. They teach you clearly by motivation, by visualization. They teach you. And then when you solicit your yidam, let's say your yidam is Vajrayogini, your Vajrayogini blesses and protects you by the power of her Buddhahood, so that when you're doing this process, you don't get lost. So it's like having Vajrayogini there watching you to make sure that this transition is all right. So that is why during our lifetime, to have our yidam, example Tara or Vajrayogini or Lama Tsongkhapa, and to solicit and to pray and to make offering to them every single day is very important. Why? When you do this every single day, you make an affinity with them. When you make an affinity with them, when the time comes that you're going to die, they're able to be there to watch you, to bless you, to guide you, send signals to make sure that this transition is smooth. That's the real purpose of yidams. People pray to yidams for money and for success and jobs and children and relationships. That's all right. But that's not the real purpose of yidams. Why? Because those things we pray for go away. But the real purpose of making a connection to the yidams every single day, to build a very big altar, to offer silver butter lamps, gold butter lamps, turquoise and jewels and precious items, and to make water offerings, and to make prostrations, and to offer mandalas. All these things that we do for our yidams on our altar is our way of making a connection to get ready for that moment. Because when we go into the clear light meditation, when we're dying, and we go into the clear light meditation, although we're doing this and we may be good, we can invoke upon the yidam, or the yidam's there automatically. Because we've been invoking upon our yidam our whole life. They're there to watch, they're there to bless and give signals. And in our sensitive state of mind. Our mind is a very subtle mind. It doesn't need the body. It doesn't need the eyes and ears anymore. In a very subtle form, it can perceive the yidams. You can hear sounds, smells. Perhaps some can directly perceive the yidams. Why? It's just like when we die, if our body becomes a ghost, we can see other ghosts. Why can we see other ghosts? Because our body's in a subtle form. Very, very subtle form. So ghosts won't appear to us as frightening or not frightening. It just appears as other people. Just like now we see other people, it's just as other people. So when we invoke upon the yidam every day, all the time, we collect merits, we purify negative karma, we make a connection, and we prepare ourselves for that time. That time, our wife and our husband and our friends and our relatives and our children and whoever we have spent so much time and energy on can do nothing for us. That is why we don't become attached to them and hurt them and damage them and fight with them. Because why? On one hand, we solicit the yidam and make offerings and collect merit. On the other hand, we fight with people. It doesn't match. So on one hand, you're collecting positive karma. On the other hand, you're collecting negative karma. In extreme cases for people who do the sadhana every day and they hold their commitments, yet their death meditation practice is not really superior, but they have confidence and they do it and they plant the imprints for that. Even those type of people, when they die with less fear, if not fully in control. And with the blessing of the yidam, they can take rebirth. They can take good rebirth. Although their rebirth is not controlled, it is propelled. It is propelled by the force of their positive imprints in their mind, which helps them to take on a better rebirth. And at that time, the yidam is very crucial for blessing them also. Yidam practice is supreme. Is supreme. That's one of the reasons why I did divinations and I selected people to have a Vajrayogini chapel. The real reason I want people to have Vajrayogini chapel is that they can plant seeds to make a connection to this superior yidam to prepare for their death. For them to die quick? No. For them to die? No. We all have to die. None of you know these things. None of you know how to do these things. So that's why I have people on the committee to do a Vajrayogini chapel, to set up the chapel, to raise funds for the chapel, to order the statue, and to make it very beautiful. Why? Those are all works that make an affinity towards Vajrayogini. And the people who have the greatest honor to be involved directly with Vajrayogini's chapel, you are creating a deity, you are creating a yidam who will be your guide, who will be your protection during the most dangerous and most sacred and scariest, yet the most important journey you will make, death. So that's why even in the meetings, we have to be very kind to each other. Why? What are we meeting for? To create this type of link for everyone. Why are we meeting together? To create this type of affinity for everyone. So the meetings must be smooth and nice and talk well. And whatever we promise at the meetings, it is equivalent to promising Vajrayogini. You may think, the chairman's here, the vice chairman's here, this person here, and I say to them, I do, I don't do, never mind. Or they ask me to, I don't do, never mind, never mind. They're never mind. But we're actually saying no to Vajrayogini. Because what is it for? For the chapel. So creating her statue, creating her images, that's what we can do at this level to prepare for that level. How does someone like us jump from this level to that level? Step by step. And as I said to you, the phenomenon of giving teachings to lay people is not really existent in the past. It's not prevalent. It's small, but it's there. And lay people practicing will be different than monks. For monks, it is not necessary to say to them to practice a Vajrayogini chapel or create one or make one. Why? They have other ways to connect with Vajrayogini, by holding their monk vows, by doing their studies, by getting initiation and going into retreat and doing the practice and doing the meditation every day. Why can they do that? They don't have to work. They didn't burden themselves with children. They didn't burden themselves with house and wife and husband. They didn't burden themselves with all types of distractions and problems and difficulties that they thought would bring them happiness. They didn't do that. So they had the time to do that. So for a monk to connect with a monk or a nun to connect with Vajrayogini, they don't have to do it your way. They don't have to build big chapels. The chapels are for us. Similarly, the chapels that are built in a monastery like Ganden Lachi, that's not for the monks. We say it's for the monks to stay there. It's actually for us. Where would the monks get the money from? It's for the lay people to collect merit in a place that the merit is abundant, a merit field. So therefore, creating a Vajrayogini chapel has a direct connection in my motivation. To make people realize the state. And so there are so many yidams. I have chosen Vajrayogini for everybody in our group. As it is named in Kichara house, Kichara represents Vajrayogini's paradise, Kichara paradise. Kichara or Kachu in Tibetan. Kichara is a Sanskrit word, or Kiachara or Kichara, all the same, for Vajrayogini's paradise, inside and outside. And all practices lead to that practice. Why? That was what was recommended by my gurus for people at this time. So Vajrayogini is the supreme yidam that I try to make everybody connected to. Why? She will help us at the most difficult passage. Death. And another reason Vajrayogini, why not Yamantaka? Why not all this? Because you barely have time to even do Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga. Why do you need 2 or 3 yidams? So Yamantaka's practice, if you are alright in Dharma, is quite nice. But the 34 arms and 9 faces, 16 legs would be quite complicated for many people, the visualization. So condense the visualization to 1 face, 2 arm. What's the difference between Vajrayogini and Yamantaka? No difference at all. None. So it's easier, more efficient, and more quicker for us. So whether we have Tara at home, we have Lama Tsongkhapa at home, whether we have a Manjushri at home, it doesn't matter. Because when we make offerings to an enlightened being, we're making connection to all the enlightened beings. So when we're dying and we make prayers to Vajrayogini, just because we had a big statue of Tara, doesn't mean Vajrayogini doesn't help us. Because why? Merit is merit. Where you make your money from doesn't matter. When you go buy your things, they won't say, oh, if you made your money from Singapore, you can't buy this. If you made your money from Indonesia, you can buy this. Your money has no lineage or where it comes from. As long as it's money, it's money. Similarly, merit is merit. In dependence on what deity you receive the merit from, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. Does everybody understand that? Good. When a monk takes ordination, he has 4 root vows that absolutely cannot be broken. And then he has the auxiliary vows. The auxiliary vows altogether is 253 that he must hold. And those vows on the basis of refuge vows that he has already taken. A monk can be a Mahayana monk or a Hinayana monk. Both the vows are the same. The vows are exactly the same. It's the motivation that makes it different. So the vows of a monk are called Prakti Moksha vows. Prati Moksha. Prati Moksha. Moksha means end of suffering. It's a Sanskrit word for end of suffering, nirvana, moksha. Prati means self. Prati Moksha means self-liberating vows. So the monk's vows that is given are called Prati Moksha vows. So in Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga, it's mentioned 3 sets of vows. The first set is Prati Moksha. The second is Bodhisattva. The third one is Tantrayana, tantric vows. So for lay people who don't have Prati Moksha vows, they can be likened to refuge vows. Refuge vows, all right? So the 3 set of vows can be refuge, Bodhisattva, and tantric. And for a monk to disrobe, he has to consciously be in front of at least 4 people or more that are sound in mind, sound in knowledge, and understand the significance, and be alert and awake, and understand what is going on, and say, I give up my vows. And pronounce, I give up my vows, and think I have no more vows. So then his vows are no more. 3 times. Or he can go to his lama and offer the vows back in the same manner. That's one way a monk disrobes. The second way is if any of the 4 root vows, the minor vows broken, you don't disrobe. If any of the 4 root vows are broken, for example, stealing with intention and completion, killing with intention and completion, etc. If any of the 4 root vows are broken, with intent, it's done and it's complete, then although one of the 4 root vows is broken, then he's disrobed. If any of the auxiliary vows are broken, he is not disrobed. He can repair it during subjong. Subjong is once a month. It's monk confessionals, where we go to confess the abbot. Any minor infractions that are not any of the 4 root vows. So any of the minor infractions, 249 auxiliary vows that are broken, they can be repaired. Example, eating after noon, not meditating. I mean, there's a lot of things there, wearing underwear, having your hair longer than 2 finger spans. Those all can be repaired. Those do not constitute you breaking your vow at all, because those are circumstantial. But the 4 root vows cannot be broken. If any of the 4 root vows are broken, then all is lost. You're disrobed. But in order for it to be broken, it must be intent. You want it, you do it, and you're happy. During Buddha's time, there was a nun, and she attended Buddha's teachings. When she attended the teachings, the monks made a lot of noise and said she cannot sit with the Sangha. She must sit with the lay people because she's broken her vows. And when asked why, she was in her cave doing her practice and meditating during Buddha's time, and she was raped by bandits. So Buddha asked her, "Did you invite that?" She said, "No." When they were doing the act, did you rejoice? She said, "No." And when they finished, were you happy? Did you think like, "Oh, this was a good experience"? She said, "No." Then Buddha said, "You are not disrobed. Please sit with the Sangha." So even though she engaged in full intercourse, because the intent wasn't there, she was not disrobed. So some of the petty monks there who doesn't know more or better, accuse her of being disrobed simply because she was raped, and simply because she was in full sexual intercourse. But the Buddha said no. Intent is very important. So he told her, sit down, join the Dharma teachings with the Sangha, not with the lay people. There's a difference in seating. So that explained very clearly Buddha's clarity in what is disrobed and not disrobed. In a Tibetan tradition, no lay person can disrobe a monk or a nun. No lay person can come up and touch, pull their robes off and say you're disrobed. No lay person. The lay person doesn't have any authority to say anything to a monk. Okay? And then if the monk breaks his vow or the nun breaks her vow, they break their vow, they can never take robes in this life again. That is one of the 4 root vows is broken, not the minor vows. They can never take robes again in this life. They are disrobed. But a good thing for a monk or a nun to do is the remaining vows that are not broken to go back and offer it to the lama is very important. Why? You may have broken 1 vow and you're disrobed, but you have 3 other vows and you don't want to break it also. So it's better to repair it and give it back intact. So that means if a monk, out of anger or whatever, for any, this hasn't happened that I've heard of, killed someone, he still hasn't stolen, he still hasn't lied. So once he becomes a layperson, for him to steal and lie might be a danger there, so he'll break the remaining vows. You're saying he's not a monk? Yes, he's not a monk anymore, but the vows are still there. So therefore, he has to return those vows. Return. Okay? And so that he doesn't commit more error. For a monk or nun that declares he's giving his vows or her vows back in front of 4 or more, or to the abbot, that they are not an ordained person anymore, they may take the robe again when they're ready. They can give back and take, give back and take 7 times in one lifetime. So that means, let's say a monk is in the monastery and they find out their parents is dying and suffering very much, and they need to go back and work and support them for a few years. They go and give their robes back. They give their vows back. They go and work as a layperson. They support their family because they can't work as a monk. And then, after they've taken care of their family, they go back to the abbot and retake their vows again. They can do that 7 times. giving your vows back and taking it, you can do it 7 times in your lifetime. 7, I have no reason why. I've never heard of a monk do that. I've only heard of Liz Taylor being married 9 times, 8 times, but monks doing that 7 times I've never heard. I've seen holy monks give their vows back because they're in other countries and they had to work and support themselves and later take it. My holy Mahasiddha master, Geshe Truden Gyaltsen, did that. About 20 years back, he gave his vows back properly. He told me. And about a decade ago, because he has to support himself, he had to work. And a decade ago, he went to His Holiness and received his vows back again. My Geshe-la did that. So I saw that. As long as the vows are given back intact. Okay, so for a monk to lose his vow is sexual misconduct, lying, stealing, and killing. Meaning, lying is talking about one's attainments and not having it, and the other person has believed you. Something of that caliber. Second, killing is intent, and the object must be a human, and the action is done and is complete, the person actually dies. And we rejoice. If a monk kills someone by accident, for example, if he runs them over by accident and he really didn't want to and the person dies, he's not disrobed. But he has the karma of killing a person, of course. He has to purify, but he's not disrobed. If a monk steals, he takes an object, he keeps it, the other person does not know, or know, but he's kept it and he has the feeling it's mine, he's disrobed. And the last is sexual intercourse, which means in any of the orifices, and the monk's genitalia is inserted into the orifice, performs the action, and completes it inside the orifice, then the monk is disrobed. It has to be complete. Okay? So those are the 4 ways that the root vows of a monk can be lost, broken. And if it's broken in any of those ways, the monk cannot take his vows again. In extreme cases, where in certain environmental conditions, where monks have to wear lay clothes, or monks have to grow their hair long, or carry weapons, or do any of those things, if it's for a purpose, it's an infringement on the vows, but it's not a broken vow, or it's not disrobe. Example, when His Holiness the Dalai Lama escaped from Tibet, he wore a soldier's compass outfit, not a soldier, a layperson's outfit, and with a sling with a gun. His Holiness carried a rifle with a hat. So did he break his monk vows? No. Because if he wore a robe, they would have found him. There's a reason for that. So in some places, it's not appropriate to wear monk robes because they'll be scorned, or there's danger, or there's difficulty in entering the place or the country or whatever. So they don't wear monk robes, or they don't reside in monk robes for the sake of being able to disseminate the Dharma. A monk not wearing monk robes does not constitute him breaking his vows. A monk having hair more than 2 finger widths longer does not constitute him breaking his vow or being disrobed. So lay people who do not understand the monk vows and have never studied the monk vows will say, oh, he's disrobed and now he's robed again. He's disrobed again. So when they talk like that, it shows you their clear ignorance and not knowing. Again, lay people pointing fingers at the Sangha and not knowing the consequences. Very simple. Okay? Any questions on that? Yes?
If vows are broken, if a monk is still broken because he's broken one of the 4 living vows, what happens to the guru disciple?
Nothing.
So they're still...
Their vows and the vows related to a monk has nothing to do with your guru Samaya. Nothing. I mean, if you take refuge vows from your lama and you lie, does that mean you hate your lama? No, right? There has no connection. And for high incarnate lamas, when they disrobe or they give their robes back for some reason, they have their reasons. It doesn't take away from their attainments at all. That's why in Tibet there's a few lay, very well-renowned lamas. Segon Dorje Chang's previous incarnations were lay lamas. Milarepa are lay lamas. Okay? So disrobing or robing has nothing to do with your status and who you are and your attainments. Why? You took your vows. You didn't take your attainments. So if you remove your vows, it means that you will manifest or do work another way. Example, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche gave his robes back in England. It didn't affect his work at all in America. It's growing very big. Very big. No problem at all. So similarly, like His Eminence Gelik Rinpoche, many years ago gave his vows back, and he took on a consort, and her name is Daisy. It didn't affect his teaching or his abilities at all. And it doesn't affect his relationship with his guru at all. I mean, each guru may have a personal liking and disliking. Maybe they prefer them to remain a monk or not, and they see that, you shouldn't have this robe. But it doesn't affect their relationship because their guru is their guru. So when you disrobe, you don't say, bye guru, I disrobe you too. No. Has nothing to do with that. If that's the case, then lay people can now have a guru. What? They've never been robed. All right? Questions? That's why when we listen to Dharma teachings, we get knowledge. When we listen to rumors on the outside, it's easy to smash them because we have knowledge. When we don't listen to teachings, when we don't read up, we don't have knowledge. When people say rumors on the outside, immediately our mind goes like that. And we go off, we run off, we go here, we go there. So people say, this Rinpoche's disrobed. Then he's robed again. Then it's disrobed. Really? What constitutes being disrobed? What constitutes being disrobed? What constitutes being robed? What constitutes? There are monks in prison in Tibet, like Podo Rinpoche, who were not allowed to wear their robes or cut their hair for 20, 30 years. The minute they get out, they put their robes on. Do you think Podo Rinpoche is disrobed? Absolutely not. It's circumstantial. A monk is a state of his mind, is not what he wears. Of course, for outer appearance, in a more stricter sense, when people see monks grow their hair long or wear lay clothes, they say, he's disrobed. But it's very derogatory. It's very dangerous also. Because they spread very, very unhealthy rumors, which has repercussions. Okay? And there are other rules like monks can't wear sleeves. Monks cannot wear sleeves. And their left side must be covered. They cannot wear white and they cannot wear black. White and black represent the extremes or laity, colors of laity. But in modern ages, when the monks are traveling to freezing cold places and stuff, don't wear sleeves. How? Sorumchi himself wore sleeves when he traveled in America because it was very cold. A Chinese light jacket, maroon and silky and very nice with the Chinese, the knot and the loop go inside and the collars. He wore that. And he had his zen. His zen was folded and put on top. Yeah, definitely. So what constitutes disrobing and not robing? If we understand the vows, it's okay. What constitutes disrobing? Okay? And if a highly accomplished lama disrobes, like the 6th Dalai Lama gave his vows back. Gyawat Sanyang Gyatso was a layperson. He had consorts. He hung around in Lhasa. The 6th Dalai Lama was lay. No problem at all. The Panchen Lama, the last Panchen Lama, the previous one, was a layperson for the last 30, 40 years. He wore yellow chubas all the time. The Chinese forced him to take a wife. He took a wife, make them happy. Doesn't affect his attainments. His incarnation came back. Anyways, why would having a consort affect anyone's attainment? Unless the consort is some kind of evil witch. Doesn't affect. Okay? Mm. we have to ask him. Well, the thing is, A, it's none of our business. I mean, I wouldn't even ask him, hi, are you disrobed? I mean, who cares? Okay. B, if people ask us, we will have to answer back. They would have to ask him if any of his 4 root vows are broken. I mean, he could be even with the consort, but he doesn't engage in full breaking vows intercourse. He hasn't broken his vow. So this is something we have to answer people. Well, if he's broken any of his 4 root vows, it's broken. But this is not something we can say and judge without asking the person himself. It's impossible. Okay? Questions?
Is the 4 factors of intention that you spoke about earlier, is it the same as what normally?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Intent, motivation, act, completion, exactly the same. But it's not, see, those are not rules for lay or monk. They're rules for karma. They're rules for karma. It has nothing to do with lay or monk.